Dvar Torah is Leilui Nishmat Zali Arnold, who was with me together in Yeshiva and who passed away this past summer. Sefer Shemot is characterized by Chazal as Sefer Geula, and for good reason. It tells the story of Klal Yisrael's redemption, V'hotzeiti, V'yitzalti, V'ga'alti, V'lakachti, starting with Yetziat Mitzrayim, continuing with Ma'amad Har Sinai, and culminating with the construction of the Mishkan. However, in that context, Parashat Mishpatim seems to be completely out of place. Not only does it not contribute to the narrative and the story that is unfolding of Geula, it goes on a tangent to list mitzvah after mitzvah, halacha after halacha. Sefer Achinu counts 53 mitzvot total in Parashat Mishpatim, more than the amount of mitzvot that we have received in the entire Torah until now. And so the question is why? Why is the Torah pausing and interrupting the narrative of Geula, literally smack in the middle of the Sefer, in order to talk about law and to give us the system of law? Right, we have these two institutions. We know they're both important. There is, Tanakh, Chumash, on the one hand, the stories, the narratives that unfold, the values that we can gain from them, the lessons, the morals, Jewish history. And on the other hand, there is halacha, Gemara B'iyun, law. They're both important, but why place all of these mitzvot here? Yes, we know Moshe Kibel Torah Misinai, and we're going to get 613 mitzvot. But why place tons and tons of them here in the middle of this story? The Torah certainly could have found another place to put all of these mitzvot. There is still a lot of Torah left in Vayikra, Bamidbar, and Dvarim. To sharpen this question a little bit more, this placement is deliberate. Rashi, on the opening words of the Parsha, points out that the phrase Ve'ele HaMishpatim, the extra vav of "and these are the laws that you should place before them," is meant to connect Parashat Mishpatim to that which came before. And therefore, Parashat Mishpatim seems to actually not be some foreign implant into Sefer Shemot, but it has been fundamentally ingrained with the rest of the narrative. And so how is that so? Why place all of these mitzvot here in the middle of this redemption arc? I think the answer lies in how we understand the relationship between law and narrative. If we look more closely at the mitzvot in Parashat Mishpatim, we notice that these mitzvot actually build upon everything which has come before. The most acute example of this is the mitzvot surrounding how we treat a ger. The Torah says very sharply that we shouldn't mistreat the ger, we shouldn't oppress them, we should love them, we should care for them. Ve'atem yadatem et nefesh hager ki yerim heitem be'eretz Mitzrayim. All of this is because you know exactly what it is like to be the stranger, to be the outsider, the one who is easiest to mistreat. And therefore, you have an obligation to translate that into action, into your behavior of how you actually treat others. We see this in how the Torah regulates and limits the institution of slavery as well in our Parsha, more specifically, because, of course, we know exactly what it is like to be avadim. We know that it is not how human beings are meant to be treated, and therefore the Torah places severe limitations on that institution. Everything in our Parsha, on a Ben Adam L'Chavero level, from the injunctions against murder and interpersonal violence, to the obligations and penalties surrounding monetary law and damages, all of it is built upon these principles of empathy, of care for the other, and of inherent human worth. The lessons that we learned from our experiences in Mitzrayim. And the same thing is true on a Ben Adam L'Makom level. The Daled Leshonot Geula, which I referenced before, Ve'hotzeiti, V'yitzalti, V'ga'alti, Ve'lakachti etchem li le'am, Ve'hayiti lachem le'elokim, Vidatem ki ani Hashem Elokechem, Hamotzi etchem eretz Mitzrayim. The whole point of Yetziat Mitzrayim, of the Shibud, of the whole experience that we lived through, was so it would be unequivocally demonstrated that God is in charge, and therefore that we have no other purpose in life than to serve him and to serve nobody but him. And for good reason then. This is exactly how God introduces himself at Mamad Har Sinai. He says, Anochi Hashem Elokecha, Asher Hotziticha me'eretz Mitzrayim mibeid avadim. And therefore everything flows from that. Lo yeh lecha Elohim acharim al panai, and all of the mitzvot that come afterwards stem from this. And so in other words, these two institutions of narrative and lived experience on the one hand, and of law, a system of halakha on the other hand, are not really divorced from one another. The laws build upon and translate the values that we gain from these lived experiences into something concrete. It gives us specific guidance and direction for what we are supposed to do with the lessons that we gained. In other words, narrative, the experiences without law would be left abstract and ambiguous. And a system of law that was imposed upon us without that lived experience would be left hollow and without spirit. And therefore we need both of these in order to have a holistic Avodat Hashem that is true to who we are both inside and out. And once we have both of these institutions, again, the lived experience of everything that came before Parashat Mishpatim and Sefer Shemot, and the system of halakha that we are introduced to in our parsha, once we have both of these, then we are ready to move forward in that process of Geula, to the final stages of Ve'asu li mikdash v'shachanti b'tocham. When we have both of these, then we are ready for an intimate relationship with Hashem as he is present in our day-to-day lives. And so Parashat Mishpatim is by no means out of place in Sefer Shemot. It is a crucial step on the road to redemption.